In this video, I'm going to share 3 books that totally transformed my life. I've read more self-help and spirituality books than I can count. Some were great, some not so much, and some were absolutely fantastic. Today, I want to share 3 of the most powerful books that I've read on topics of self-help and spirituality. So if you're ready to dive deeper into personal growth and unlock new dimensions of living, then stick around because these books might just change your life as well. Hi, I'm Jeff and I teach practical and spiritual methods to organize and empower your life. So I have all 3 books. Can you see these here with me? So I'm going to go through these and give a brief introduction to each one, as well as share how it had such an incredible impact on my life and my spiritual journey. So first on my list is an absolute classic. I have it right here. This is Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. And this is one of the books that I really credit with sort of turbocharging my spiritual growth. I think around the time that I read this book, I had maybe even started meditating. I was learning more about spirituality. I had bought a few books and had read about meditation and some of this more esoteric stuff. And I can't remember how it was. I think maybe someone I was following, a teacher at the time, recommended this book, and I read it and I was just absolutely hooked. What I love most about this book is that on one hand, it gives an incredible picture. It's just an incredible story about Yogananda's life and his work and his life's work. How he goes from India and he's with his guru, and then later on travels to California, opens like an ashram. It's just a fantastic and fascinating story. But beyond that, it's this really fascinating mix of historical information along with very esoteric spiritual knowledge. I mean, even now, the other day I went through and was just reading a passage, and there's such incredibly, how would I say this? There's just really incredible spiritual knowledge in the pages of this book, and it's really distilled down. So you can read it for fun because it's not really written as this intense esoteric book. But if you read it and you learn about his life, there's so much incredible spiritual knowledge in the pages. It's going to pique your curiosity. So if you've ever questioned the deeper meaning of life, or you wanted to really just learn more about this whole process of self-realization and meditation and becoming the best version of yourself spiritually, then I highly recommend this book. So now my second book, and I don't think this is quite as well known as the first. This is called The Holy Science, and this is by Swami Sri Yukteswarji. Now, he was actually the guru and the teacher of Paramahansa Yogananda from the first book. This book is really fascinating. It's more esoteric, and it talks about spiritual development and the cosmos, really big picture stuff. It talks about too, if you're familiar with this concept of yugas. Yugas are sort of the cycles that Earth and civilizations go through. So it's a really great book. It's a little bit more esoteric, I would say, than Autobiography of a Yogi, because it goes into these cycles and talks about sort of how different religions approach spirituality, and also that they're all trying to get us to one common place. It also gets into, I would say, sort of the order and the system behind the cosmos and the universe. So definitely, like I said, more esoteric. Definitely it's a little bit of a heavier read. I mean, you really have to focus because there's so much knowledge, detailed knowledge on these esoteric topics, that it's one of those books that you really have to sit down and focus when you're reading it. But it's absolutely fantastic. I highly recommend it. So the third book on my list is by an author who many of you will know, and that is Napoleon Hill. But it's not the classic you might be thinking of. It's not Think and Grow Rich, although that's a fantastic book in its own right. This book is Outwitting the Devil. Now, what's fascinating about this book is it was apparently written by him, by Napoleon Hill, in 1938, but it was never published. So his family, after his passing, held on to this manuscript, and I don't believe it was published until, let's see, 2011? Was it that late? So I don't know if that was the exact date it was first published, but so years and years later, it was finally published. And within the book, it's written in this way that the author, Napoleon Hill, is actually having a conversation with the devil. And he's cornered him, and he's asking all these questions about creation. Why are things the way they are? Why is there such evil? And his advice is really, or the advice of Napoleon Hill in the book, it's very practical and direct, and even a little uncomfortable at times, but it shows how every one of us sort of has our own demons, has our own issues to work through, our own shadow work, you could call it. And apparently the reason it was never published was because it's highly critical of so many institutions, which is why I found it such a fascinating read. But in addition to being a really good read, it has a lot of very practical application for anyone on a spiritual path. And it really helps you to see where you might be limiting yourself, where you might have some more shadow work to do, you might have some more issues to break through. So it's actually time for me to reread this. I read it a few years ago. It's definitely one of those books, like Think and Grow Rich and like these other two, that warrants a reread every couple of years because the information is so good. So these three books are some of my favorites. Again, it's Autobiography of a Yogi, then we have The Holy Science, and then finally this last book by Napoleon Hill, Outwitting the Devil. And what I love about these books is that if you're interested in spirituality, personal growth, that niche, you'll find that these books aren't just entertainment or guides, they're really like mentors, and they can awaken you, especially if you're already on this journey, this spiritual path. All three of these books, in some way, helped me see the world and myself in entirely new ways. So if you've read any of these books, I'd love to hear your opinions in the comments below. And if you're interested in checking them out, I'm going to leave some sponsored Amazon links in the description and comment section below. Just total transparency, I'm an affiliate with Amazon, so if you do purchase anything using those links, then I will receive a small commission, of course at no cost to you. But these are books I highly recommend, and if you're interested in continuing on the spiritual journey and spiritual path, they're absolutely fantastic. So at the same time, if you have life-changing books of your own, then please share them in the comments below as well, because I'd love to hear all about them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.